My best friend was convinced she was in love with her mom's much older boyfriend and secretly started dating him. But then she got pregnant by him, so we had no choice but to expose his disgusting secret and ruin him forever. Back in 11th grade, she suddenly began showing up to school in clothes from Urban Outfitters and Brandy Melville, brands that were way out of our budget. None of us, including her, could ever afford that kind of stuff, so of course we started grilling her about it. She brushed it off, telling us, "Oh, my mom's new boyfriend is trying to impress me." I laughed, honestly, because I'd been in a similar spot before. Might as well bleed him dry, right? One of our other friends cracked up too. We didn't bring it up again, at least not until the following week, when she walked into school looking way too happy. It wasn't that she was usually moody or anything, but Lena was always more on the quiet side. I figured maybe she had a new crush or something. Her skin was even glowing a bit. Still, I didn't want to embarrass her in front of the others, so I waited until after school. When we were alone, I teased her and asked if she was seeing someone. Immediately, her face turned beet red. "Please don't ask me that again," she said stiffly. The way she said it gave me chills, so cold and distant, completely unlike her. After that, I couldn't help but start watching her more closely. And sure enough, a few days later, I caught a glimpse of a Pandora charm bracelet on her wrist, nearly hidden under her sleeve, and it was fully loaded with charms. Her family didn't have money like that. They were just like mine. A lot of our friends had gotten into petty theft lately, so I figured maybe she was shoplifting too. So one day, joking around, I said, "What, you a little klepto now?" Her face went red again, but this time, not with embarrassment. It was pure anger. "I told you to stop saying stuff like that," she snapped before storming off. Later that evening, I noticed someone had unfollowed me on Instagram. My gut told me to check, and sure enough, it was Lena. That might not sound like a big deal, but it was for us. We were that close. Like, borrow each other's underwear, brush our teeth while the other showers kind of close. Once, on a family trip, we only had one bathroom and neither of us cared at all. She was like a sister to me. So yeah, her unfollowing me was a major red flag. And since I could tell she wasn't going to open up anytime soon, I decided to force the issue in the least suspicious way I could think of. I showed up at her house with a cheap plate of cookies wrapped in foil, pretending I baked them just for her. A man I didn't know answered the door, wearing nothing but boxers. No shame whatsoever. Right behind him was Lena, barely covered in a flimsy bathrobe, her makeup all smudged. She saw me and darted into the bathroom immediately. My whole body went numb. I forced a big, awkward smile. "Hey, just wanted to drop these off. Hope y'all like chocolate chip." Then I got in my car and sped around the block, my hands shaking. My best friend was being groomed. But what the hell was I supposed to do? I couldn't exactly run to the cops without Lena admitting what was happening. They wouldn't do anything. So I called Chloe, the one person I knew wouldn't just turn this into gossip. She's always been the type to stay calm and think logically, even in the craziest situations. And true to form, Chloe immediately had a plan. She said we had to help Lena realize this was abuse, not love. Conveniently, she was about to give a school presentation on online safety. Chloe told me to trust her, and that while she handled that part, I should work on getting close to Lena again. So I did what I could. The next day at school, Lena looked anxious, like she was holding her breath to see what I'd say. When she saw I wasn't going to bring up what I'd seen, she relaxed. It felt like old times again. Not long after, I noticed she wasn't bothering to hide the fancy jewelry anymore. She even started wearing a locket every day, and I'm pretty sure it had a photo inside. It felt like we were running out of time before something even worse happened. I couldn't wait for Chloe's presentation. When the day came, she started off talking about cyberbullying and stuff like that, so I wasn't sure how she'd pivot. Then she transitioned into online grooming, and boom, she hit it hard. She had a whole slide on how older adults lure younger people in with gifts and fake affection to get what they want. The room went silent, and then came a collective gasp. Even the teacher jumped in to say how absolutely disgusting that kind of manipulation was. The whole time, I kept my eyes locked on Lena. She was clearly unraveling, legs bouncing, chewing her nails to the skin. When she asked to go to the bathroom and ran out in tears, I knew it was hitting her. And even though it broke my heart, I was relieved. She needed that wake-up call. Then, just as lunch started, my phone blew up with texts. Lena was begging me to meet her in the bathroom over and over. When I found her, she was curled up in the stall, hugging her knees to her chest. Her face was soaked in red, and she couldn't catch her breath. Alyssa, I gently rubbed her hair, trying to stay calm until she could get the words out. I'm pregnant. My whole body went stiff. I pulled back, just enough to look her in the eye and see if she was serious. I couldn't even finish the sentence. But she nodded anyway. I wrapped my arms around her tight and told her she wasn't alone in this. That seemed to help her relax a little. We stayed like that for what felt like forever. Eventually, her breathing slowed. I grabbed some rough paper towels from the dispenser and helped her wipe her face. The bell for 5th period rang, but neither of us moved an inch. How far along? I asked quietly, trying not to sound panicked. 8 weeks, I think, she whispered, eyes glued to the gross tile floor. I took 3 tests. All positive. Does he know? I asked, though I already dreaded the answer. Lena nodded, and fresh tears rolled down. He says it's my fault, that I tricked him. She let out a bitter laugh, like, as if I wanted this. I took a long breath. Lena, we have to tell someone. A counselor. Someone who can actually help. And to my surprise, she nodded. I know. I can't keep doing this, Alyssa, she whispered. Last night She slowly rolled up her sleeve, and my breath caught when I saw the bruise, dark and angry, wrapping all the way around her wrist. He got furious when I said I wanted to keep it, she said softly. I could feel my blood boiling, but I forced myself to stay calm. Let's go talk to Ms. Patel, I said gently. She was the school counselor everyone actually liked and trusted. Right now. Lena paused, clearly torn, but then she gave me a small nod. We walked down the hall together, my arm around her like I was trying to shield her from the world. The second Ms. Patel saw Lena's tear-streaked face, she didn't ask a single question. She just opened her office door and ushered us in, shutting it behind us. Her face was kind, but serious. You're doing the right thing, I whispered to Lena as we sat down. I swear. Ms. Patel cleared her throat gently, her voice low and calm. Lena, I need to ask, are you in immediate danger? Should we call the police? Lena tensed up right next to me like someone had pulled a string tight in her back. No police, she said immediately, her voice sharp. Please, he'll know it was me. Ms. Patel and I locked eyes. I could tell she was struggling between what she had to do legally and the pure fear on Lena's face. The shelter Chloe found doesn't involve police right away. I jumped in, trying to keep Lena from shutting down. They'll help her take the next steps safely. Ms. Patel nodded slowly, processing. I can take you both there after school, she offered. In the meantime, Lena, you can stay here with me. Lena grabbed my hand so tightly I thought she might break my fingers. Don't leave me alone. I won't, I said, looking over at Ms. Patel for confirmation. She nodded. I'll excuse you both from class for the day, she said kindly, stepping out to give us a moment of privacy. As soon as the door closed, Lena crumbled again, breaking into sobs. He's going to be so mad, Alyssa, she cried. You don't know what he's like when he's mad. The fading bruise under her eye had turned a sickly greenish yellow, and the concealer she'd used to hide it was now streaking down with her tears. I didn't even want to imagine what other marks she was hiding under her clothes. What happened to the baby, Lena? I asked gently, not wanting to make her shut down. She stared at the floor like she couldn't even face the question. I told him I was pregnant, she murmured. He said I was trying to trap him. Her voice went completely flat, like she wasn't even in her body anymore. He drove me to some clinic 2 towns over, paid in cash, used fake names. Said if I ever told anyone, he'd tell my mom I was a whore. I could feel the rage rising in my throat, but I forced it back down. Did you? Did you want to keep it? I asked softly. Lena just shrugged like she didn't know what emotions were anymore. I didn't get to decide anything. And you're I asked, already suspecting the answer. I threw up in his car after, she said. He said I did it on purpose. We sat there in silence for a long time. Her head was resting on my shoulder, her breathing slowly settling again. I pulled out my phone and texted Chloe. We're in Ms. Patel's office, planning to go to the shelter after school. Chloe replied right away. I'm coming too. Don't leave without me. Around lunchtime, Ms. Patel popped back in with 2 sandwiches from the cafeteria. Lena barely even touched hers. She picked at the crust, then pushed the rest away. That half-eaten sandwich just sat there on the desk. And I kept thinking about how Lena used to inhale food like it was going out of style. She always joked about having a bottomless stomach, and she'd finish my leftovers every single time. Now, she looked like she'd lost at least 15 pounds since the school year started. What if my mom calls the cops and reports me missing? She blurted out suddenly. The shelter can help with that, I told her, though I wasn't 100% sure how it all worked. They've dealt with this kind of thing before. Lena nodded, but I could see in her eyes she was spiraling, imagining the worst-case scenarios. She kept glancing at her phone, which buzzed now and then with texts she wouldn't show me. Is it him? I asked after the 3rd buzz made her jump. She nodded, silencing the phone with shaking hands. He thinks I'm still in class. If I don't reply soon, he might come here. That made my stomach twist into knots. Then let's not wait, I said. Let's go now. We didn't need to wait until the final bell. I shot Chloe a quick text, and she replied almost instantly. She'd meet us at Ms. Patel's car in 5 minutes. When I explained the situation to Ms. Patel, she didn't hesitate. She agreed to leave right away. As we moved down the quiet school halls toward the staff parking lot, Lena suddenly froze. Her hand flew up to her neck. My locket, she breathed, eyes wide. I left it in my locker. Lena, we really should just go, I said, feeling the urgency crawl up my spine. I need it, she insisted, panic rising in her voice. Please, Alyssa, it'll just take a second. I hesitated. Every part of me said this was a bad idea. But I gave in. We detoured to her locker. Lena spun the combination like muscle memory and quickly pulled out the gold locket. But instead of putting it back on, she walked over to the trash and dropped it inside an empty soda can. I don't want it anymore, she said quietly. But I don't want him having it either. By the time we made it out to the car, Chloe and Ms. Patel were already waiting. The ride to the shelter was around 20 minutes, and every second of it, Lena looked more on edge. She picked at her cuticles until one of them started bleeding. I handed her a tissue from my backpack, and without a word, she wrapped it around her finger. I stared out the window as the scenery changed, from the familiar comfort of our neighborhood to streets lined with apartment complexes and tiny local shops. Ms. Patel drove slowly, always checking the rearview mirror, making sure no one was tailing us. When we pulled up, the shelter looked just like a plain office building, nothing flashy, nothing suspicious. Beige walls, small parking lot, security cameras, and a buzzer at the door. Ms. Patel leaned toward the intercom and gave her name. We were buzzed in right away. A woman named Nina greeted us. She had this calming, steady energy that made me feel like we were in the right place. Nina took Lena into a separate room to talk privately, while Chloe, Ms. Patel, and I waited in a small lounge. The chairs were old but clean, and the room felt warm, even with all the heaviness in the air. Will she be safe here? I asked Ms. Patel, nervously twisting the hem of my shirt. She will, Ms. Patel said with confidence. They take safety very seriously here. Chloe reached into her bag and flipped open a notebook, turning to a page full of neatly organized notes. I brought everything, screenshots, dates, all the Instagram stuff. Every detail I've got on Travis. Miss Patel gave her an approving nod. That'll be really useful, Chloe. Thank you. While we waited, I looked around. Posters on the walls covered topics like abuse prevention and safety planning. There were brochures in all kinds of languages, and even a little play area for kids with gently used toys. A bulletin board nearby caught my eye. It had handwritten notes pinned up, messages from women who had escaped abuse and rebuilt their lives. I found myself hoping that maybe one day Lena would write one of those notes too. After about an hour, Nina returned, but Lena wasn't with her. She's getting settled into her room, Nina told us kindly. She's agreed to stay. Can we see her? I asked, already missing her. Not for the first 72 hours, Nina said gently. It's our protocol for high-risk intakes. She needs time to adjust without any outside pressure. I felt my heart sink, but I got it. Can she at least text us? I asked hopefully. She can use the shelter's phone to call during set times, Nina explained. No personal devices are allowed at first, too risky. We think he might have put tracking software on her phone. We left our contact info and got ready to head out. But before we left, Nina let us say a quick goodbye. Lena was sitting on a twin bed in a small room, bare bones, but clean. She looked like she didn't know whether to cry or breathe a sigh of relief. There wasn't much in the room. A bed, a dresser, a little desk, and a window with the blinds half drawn. The courtyard outside was quiet. I'm so proud of you, I told her as I wrapped my arms around her. Thank you for not giving up on me, she whispered, her breath warm on my ear. The ride back to school was silent. Ms. Patel dropped Chloe and me off at the front entrance and handed us notes excusing our missed classes. What now? Chloe asked as we headed toward our lockers. I guess we wait, I said, feeling a strange emptiness settle over me. Lena was finally safe, but none of this was over. That night, my phone rang. Unknown number. It was Lena, calling from the shelter. How are you? I asked, curling up under my blanket. Scared, she admitted. But the people here are really nice. There's even another girl my age. Did your mom call? I asked gently. She did, Lena said with a sigh. I told her I'm staying with you for a few days. She believed it. She's working double shifts this week anyway. And him? I asked, even though I was terrified to hear the answer. He's called like 20 times, Lena said, her voice trembling. The staff here told me not to answer any of his calls, Lena said quietly. They're helping me figure out what to do next. Turns out, Travis had tracking apps on her phone the whole time. That's how he always knew where she was. After we hung up, I tried to dive into my homework, but I couldn't focus at all. My math book sat open in front of me, but the numbers just blurred together while my mind kept wandering back to Lena. I kept wondering what she was doing at that exact moment, if she felt scared being in such a new place, if she was already starting to regret leaving. Every few minutes, I'd glance at my phone even though I knew she wasn't going to call again that night. Around 10 p.m., the phone rang again. This time, it was Lena's mom. Alyssa, is Lena really staying with you? Mrs. Carter asked. Her voice was tight, full of suspicion. My heart started racing. Yes, Mrs. Carter. We're just working on a school project together. I lied, and it tasted awful. That's strange, she replied. Travis said he drove past your house. Said all the lights were off, except what looked like your parents' bedroom. My stomach turned to ice. He'd been at my house? Looking for Lena? We're down in the basement, I said quickly. The Wi-Fi's better there. Mrs. Carter didn't sound convinced, but she said she'd call again the next day. As soon as we hung up, I called the shelter and asked them to warn Lena right away. The woman who answered took it seriously, said she'd pass the message on immediately. After that, I went through the house, double-checking all the locks and making sure every curtain was shut tight. Just the thought of Travis driving past my house gave me chills. That night, I barely slept. Every little noise outside made me jump. I kept picturing his black car parked across the street, his eyes watching, waiting. The next day at school, it was like wildfire, rumors flying about Lena and me disappearing the day before. I heard the whispers as I walked past groups of students. Pregnant. Ran away. Secret relationship. I ignored them and found Chloe at lunch. Travis came to my house last night looking for Lena, I told her in a hushed voice. Her eyes widened. That's terrifying. Do you think he suspects something? No doubt, I said. And now Lena's mom is starting to get suspicious too. We spent lunch throwing ideas back and forth, trying to figure out what we could do. Chloe had been doing her homework. She found out that unless Lena went to the police and gave a formal statement, there wasn't much that could be done legally. The shelter can help her get a restraining order, Chloe said, but she has to be willing to speak up. Later that afternoon, Lena called again. This time, she sounded a little more grounded. The counselor here is amazing, she told me. She's helping me understand how messed up things were with Travis, how he twisted everything. That's really good to hear, Lena. But I'm not ready to go to the police, she said softly. Not yet. I need more time to sort through everything. I understood. I really did, but I also worried. How long could she safely hide at the shelter? Your mom called me last night, I told her. Travis is out there, looking for you. Lena was silent for a moment. I know. They told me he's called the main shelter line a few times already. They won't confirm I'm here, but it's just a matter of time. That night, I couldn't sleep again. I checked every door and window, pulled the curtains tight, and still felt like eyes were on me. My room is on the second floor, but I still couldn't shake the feeling that someone was out there. I tried distracting myself with Netflix and schoolwork, but my mind kept spinning. The next morning, I woke up to a text from an unknown number. I know what you did. Stay out of things that don't concern you. My hands were shaking. The message was vague, sure, but I knew exactly who it was from and exactly what it meant. At school, I showed Chloe right away. It has to be Travis, she said, immediately adding it to her folder of documentation. Should we tell someone? I asked, biting my lip. We can, she said. But maybe wait. Let's see if anything else happens. I don't want things getting worse for Lena. But by lunchtime, things had gotten worse. Lena's mom showed up at school, demanding to talk to me. The office called me down, and I found Mrs. Carter waiting, her face pale, eyes sunken, her scrubs wrinkled, like she hadn't slept. Where is my daughter? She barked the moment she saw me. Mrs. Carter, Don't you lie to me, she snapped. Travis told me everything. He said you've been feeding Lena lies, turning her against us. My jaw dropped. What? He told me Lena said you've been jealous of their relationship. That you're the one making things up. My thoughts were spinning. What messages? Lena would never say those things. And then it hit me. Travis must have gotten into her accounts. The shelter had already discovered tracking apps on her phone. Who knew what else he'd installed? Mrs. Carter, that's not true, I said carefully. Travis is not who you think he is. Her eyes narrowed, skeptical. Travis has been nothing but supportive, she snapped. He's the only real father figure Lena has ever had. I swallowed hard, holding back everything I wanted to scream. Have you talked to Lena yourself? I mean, not through Travis, actually spoken to her. Something flickered in her expression. Doubt. She texted me that she's okay. That she just needs a little space. From her phone? I asked slowly. She paused. Well, it came from her number. I took a breath and softened my tone. Mrs. Carter, please. Just try to talk to Lena directly, hear it from her. That's all I'm asking. She didn't answer, but I could tell she was rattled. When she finally walked away, she looked more unsure than when she arrived. And honestly, that felt like a small win. As soon as she left, I called the shelter to warn them that Travis might have access to Lena's phone and that he was ramping things up. They thanked me and said they'd make sure she was safe and aware. Later that afternoon, Chloe and I decided to go down to the police station. We said we had a hypothetical situation to ask about, just to test the waters. The place was small, smelled like stale coffee, and the fluorescent lights made everything feel cold. At first, the officer at the front desk looked like he was bored out of his mind. But as soon as we mentioned that the case involved a minor, he perked up and led us to a detective. Her name was Detective Ramirez. She had this calm but firm energy about her, kind eyes, serious voice, and she listened closely as we laid everything out, being careful not to use any names. Without the victims stepping forward, our hands are mostly tied, she said gently. But if there's clear evidence of a crime, we can open an investigation. Chloe brought up the Instagram posts. I showed her the threatening text. Detective Ramirez nodded, handed us her card. If your friend chooses to speak up, or if you feel you're in danger, call me. Anytime. Days passed. Lena called me from the shelter every day. Her voice grew steadier each time. She was working with counselors, legal advocates, building up the strength to deal with what was coming. Her mom had finally spoken with her directly and was starting to see through Travis's lies. Lena hadn't told her everything, but she'd told her enough. Meanwhile, I tried to get back into a normal routine at school, classes, homework, pretending like I wasn't constantly worried. But Lena was always on my mind. Then one morning, I walked onto campus and immediately saw him. Travis. Leaning against his shiny black car like he owned the place. My stomach dropped. I kept my head down and tried to keep walking, hoping he wouldn't recognize me. There were other students nearby. I figured I'd be safer in a crowd. Alyssa, right? He called out, all smooth and casual. Lena's friend? I froze. My heart was pounding so hard I could hear it. Up close, I could almost see what Lena once saw in him. He was polished, good-looking, and confident. But his smile never reached his eyes. He had on designer clothes, a flashy watch, totally out of place in a high school parking lot. Lena's having a rough time lately, he said like we were just making small talk. Her mom and I are really worried. I haven't seen her, I lied, gripping my backpack strap like it might anchor me. That's strange, he said, still smiling. Because her mom told me she was staying at your house. That smile didn't move, but his eyes turned sharp. You wouldn't lie to a concerned parent, would you? I need to get to class, I said, trying to squeeze past him. He moved into my path, close enough that I could smell his cologne. It made my skin crawl. I know you think you're helping her, he said in a low voice, but you're not. Lena has issues. Delusions. She's made these kinds of accusations before. I felt sick. I really have to go, I mumbled. Just tell her to call me, he said, finally stepping back. Tell her I forgive her. We can work it out. I practically bolted into the school building, texting Chloe the second I was inside. She met me at my locker, her face pale. He was waiting for you, she whispered. That's intimidation, Alyssa. We need to call Detective Ramirez. I nodded, still shaking. I didn't feel brave. I felt hunted. He's trying to mess with my head. Twist everything around like Lena is the one causing trouble. During lunch, Chloe and I called Detective Ramirez and told her about what happened in the parking lot. She took it seriously, thankfully, but reminded us again that unless Lena officially reported him, there wasn't much they could do about Travis himself. But if he approaches you again on school property, she added, that falls under harassment. I can speak to him about that. Later that day, I called Lena to let her know what had happened. He's getting desperate, she said. Her voice had a new kind of strength I hadn't heard in a long time. The people here say that's actually a good sign. It means he's losing control. Your mom came to school last week, I told her. I think she's starting to see through it. There was a pause. I'm going to tell her everything, Lena said finally. The shelter staff offered to help us sit down together. They think she'll believe me if it comes from me directly. Are you sure you're ready for that? I asked gently. No, she admitted. But I can't live like this forever. 2 days later, Lena called me again. Her voice shook a little, but there was something lighter about it too. My mom came to the shelter, she told me. We talked for hours. Then her voice cracked. She believes me, Alyssa. She kicked him out of the house. I felt a wave of relief wash over me, so strong I had to sit down. That's incredible, Lena. She's already filing for a restraining order, Lena continued. And I decided to give a statement to the police. Not a full report yet, but enough to start a file. I could finally breathe again. It was like I'd been holding my breath for weeks without even realizing it. I'm so proud of you. I'm going back to school next week, she said. My mom's looking into a transfer to Westlake, but it might take a while. The next few days flew by in a blur. Chloe and I cleaned out Lena's locker together, carefully packing up all her stuff. Textbooks, extra gym clothes, some photos that had been taped inside her locker door, every little thing felt like a piece of her she was slowly reclaiming. The school counselor arranged for Lena to get modified assignments so she could catch up without feeling overwhelmed. And my mom and I even went shopping for a little welcome-back gift, a simple silver bracelet with a small heart charm. It wasn't fancy, but I hoped it could mean something, a symbol of a fresh start. The morning Lena was coming back, I waited for her in the parking lot, practically vibrating with nerves. When her mom's car pulled up, I rushed over immediately. Lena stepped out and she looked different. Her hair was shorter, styled plainly. She wore a basic t-shirt and jeans instead of the flashy stuff Travis used to buy her. The locket and that charm bracelet were both gone. She hugged me tightly. Thank you, she whispered. For everything. That day wasn't easy. People stared. There were whispers. A few classmates, completely lacking any tact, straight up asked if she'd been pregnant. Chloe and I stuck to her side like bodyguards, deflecting questions, protecting her space. At lunch, the cafeteria felt like too much for Lena, so we ate outside. The spring air was warm, and we found a quiet spot under a tree, away from all the noise. Travis keeps texting my mom, Lena said quietly. Even though his number's blocked, he just makes new ones. The police say it's not technically violating the temporary restraining order, she continued, since he's not reaching out to me directly. And the texts aren't threatening. Not explicitly anyway. Has he tried to message you? Chloe asked. Lena shook her head. No. Not yet. But I still get scared going home sometimes. What if he's there? Waiting. Your mom changed the locks, right? I asked. Yeah, and we've got a security camera at the front door now, she said. But still. I understood completely. Ever since that day in the parking lot, I'd been jumping at every shadow. That afternoon, as we were walking to the parking lot together, Lena suddenly stopped in her tracks. That's his car, she whispered, pointing to a black sedan idling near the exit. I immediately turned her back toward the building. We need to go to the office. Call your mom. Call the police. We told the school security officer about the car, but by the time he went to check, it was already gone. Lena was shaking so badly the nurse took her in and had her lie down until her mom could pick her up. He's not going to stop, Lena sobbed. He's just going to keep coming after me. I held her hand as tightly as I could. We won't let him, I said. You're not alone. When her mom arrived, she looked panicked but determined. She pulled Lena into a hug, then turned to me. Thank you for everything, Alyssa. For looking out for her. Always, I told her. That night, my phone buzzed around midnight. It was Lena. He was outside, she whispered, barely audible. He parked across the street. Just watching. Did you call the police? Yeah, Mom did. But he left before they got here. Did they take a report? They did, she said. But since he didn't get out of the car or say anything, it's still not officially violating the order. He was on public property. Her voice cracked. I'm so tired, Alyssa. I just want this to be over. The next day, Lena didn't come to school. Lena's mom called the school to say she was out sick, But when I texted Lena, she told me the truth. They were staying in a hotel. They didn't feel safe going back home. At lunch, Chloe and I sat down to talk through it all. The shelter had already said they could help Lena transfer schools quickly. Chloe looked at me and said, "Maybe that's the smartest move right now." "But that just means he wins," I argued, feeling frustrated. "Lena has to give up her home, her school, her friends, while Travis walks away like nothing happened." Chloe's expression grew serious. "I know it's not fair, but her safety has to come first." And I couldn't argue with that. After school, I drove out to the hotel where Lena and her mom were staying. It was a budget chain just off the freeway, rows of rooms with exterior doors and a small, cracked parking lot. Lena looked drained, but she smiled when she saw me. "Mom's talking to a lawyer," she said as we sat together on the bed. "She's trying to push through the permanent restraining order. And we're seriously thinking about the school transfer." "I'll miss you," I said honestly, "but I get it." Lena nodded. The shelter connected us with a program that helps people like me start fresh. New school, therapy, support groups, the whole thing. "When would you leave?" I asked, bracing myself. "As early as next week," she said. "Mom's job has a location in that district, so she can transfer too." I felt a tangle of emotions, sadness, relief, pride, and something close to grief. She'd be safer, yes. But I also knew we were about to lose something special, just when our friendship had grown the strongest. "I'll still see you," she added quickly, reading the look on my face. "Just not every day." 2 days later, Lena came back to school for the last time, to clean out her locker and say goodbye to a few teachers. Chloe and I walked beside her, close and quiet, making sure she wasn't alone. The atmosphere in the halls felt strange, almost electric. Like everyone somehow knew this was her final day. As we stepped outside, Lena suddenly stopped. "I want to get coffee," she said, like it had just hit her. The three of us. One last normal thing. So we went to the little cafe down the street from school, the one with chip tables and mismatched chairs. We ordered our drinks and found a quiet corner where no one would bother us. And for a little while, it really did feel like old times. Just 3 friends joking around, sipping coffee and talking about nothing important. The smell of espresso and baked goods wrapped around us like a blanket. And for a brief moment, everything felt okay again. "I'm going to miss this," Lena murmured, looking down at her drink. "It's not forever," Chloe reminded her. "Just for now. Just until everything calms down." Lena nodded, but her eyes told the truth. She wasn't sure. "I keep thinking how different everything would be if I hadn't fallen for him." "This isn't on you," I told her, my voice firm. He knew exactly what he was doing. Lena reached for the bracelet I'd given her, the thin silver one with the little heart charm, and fiddled with it. "The counselor at the shelter said guys like Travis look for girls like me," she said softly. "Single mom. Always working, money problems." I was easy to isolate. "But you got out," Chloe said gently. "That's what counts." Lena gave a small smile. "Thanks to you guys." Just then, her phone buzzed. It was a text from her mom, saying she was waiting in the parking lot. We walked her to the car. When we hugged goodbye, it was long and tight, like we were afraid to let go. "I'll text you my new number once we're settled," Lena promised as she got in. I stood there and watched their car drive away, my heart heavy. We'd helped save her, but it came at a price. The following week felt hollow. No Lena in the hallways. No Lena at lunch. Even our group texts had gone quiet. Chloe and I tried to fall back into our routines, but something always felt missing. Our lunch table had too much space. My phone felt too quiet. And then, 10 days after she left, I got a text from an unknown number. "It's me. I'm safe." I told the truth. Relief hit me like a wave. She was okay. She was safe. And she was finally free. I called the number right away, and Lena picked up almost immediately. "Hey," she said, and for the first time in months, she actually sounded like herself again. How are you? How's the new school? I asked. It's good, she said, and I could hear the honesty in her voice. Different, but good. Mom and I are living in a secured apartment building now, and I'm seeing a counselor twice a week. Have you heard anything about him? I asked carefully. There was a brief pause. Yeah. Mom filed for full custody and banned him from ever coming near us again. Turns out, he wasn't even legally living with us. His name wasn't on anything, no lease, no paperwork. My jaw dropped. You're kidding. Nope. And apparently he lied about almost everything, his job, his past, even his age. What? I said, completely shocked. The police are looking into him for some other stuff too, she added. I don't know all the details yet. We ended up talking for nearly an hour, just catching up. Lena sounded stronger, more grounded. She told me she'd joined the art club at her new school and was starting to make friends. There was a brightness in her voice that I hadn't heard in years. Like a weight had finally been lifted. Like she was finally allowed to be a teenager. 2 weeks later, Chloe and I drove out to Lena's new town to meet her for coffee. It was just over an hour away, a clean, quiet suburb with wide roads and shiny new buildings. She was already waiting at a little cafe when we arrived, waving at us from the window with the biggest smile. I almost didn't recognize her. Her eyes were clear. She actually looked rested. She was wearing jeans and a soft-looking sweater, none of that designer stuff Travis used to buy her. She looked healthy. Her skin had that natural glow again, and her face had filled out a bit, like she was eating and sleeping the way she should. I've got news, she said once we'd sat down and ordered our drinks. Chloe and I leaned in. Travis has been arrested. Our eyes widened. For what? I asked. Turns out I wasn't his only victim, Lena said quietly. When I gave my full statement to the police, they matched it with 2 other cases. Same story. Girls like me in other counties. I reached over and took her hand. I'm so sorry, Lena. She gave it a small squeeze. Don't be. It means he can't hurt anyone else now. As we sipped our drinks, she told us more about her new life, her classes, her counselor, the survivor support group she joined. She talked about her art projects, the new friends she was slowly making, and for the first time in a long time, her eyes lit up. Watching her was like watching someone bloom. Like she'd finally stepped out of the dark and into the sun. What about the locket? Chloe asked gently. The one you used to wear all the time? Lena smiled. I left it behind, with everything else he gave me. She glanced down and touched the silver bracelet I'd given her. This is the only jewelry I want now. When it was time to go, we walked her to the car. We hugged tight, none of us wanted to let go. I'll text you once we're settled and more, Lena promised. We have to do this again. As Chloe and I drove home, I kept thinking about the girl Lena used to be, the one we found curled up, crying in a school bathroom. Now she stood tall. She laughed easier. She wasn't hiding anymore. We did good, Chloe said quietly.